Hi there, I'm Drew Badger, the world's #1 English fluency guide, and it is a pleasure to welcome you to another advanced listening practice lesson. Well, today I wanted to bring a book on and talk about that. Occasionally I will bring books onto the program. I haven't done it in a while, but I thought this was a really interesting one. I'll read a bunch of books, and it's like anything else in life. You'll read maybe 10 books, and then only one of them will be really powerful for you. And even within that book, only like one or two ideas are, really something amazing that you should pay attention to. But this is one of those books that I was reading recently, and it is called The Big Leap. And it is by Gay Hendricks. Gay Hendricks. I really like this picture, actually, the little goldfish jumping up from a smaller goldfish bowl into the larger one. Now, the premise of the book, the idea, the main point of the book, is that you're kind of psychologically within a certain range about how happy you want to be, or how much money you think you can earn, or how creative you think you can be, and other things like this that are related. But it's a really interesting idea that says, you can kind of only become as happy as you think you can be. And people may think like, well, everybody wants to be infinitely happy. That's obvious, but it's not really the case. And what's interesting about this is that you have an idea, and I'll talk about how this is connected to fluency, because it's, again, one of these ideas where you have kind of a specific area in which you're comfortable, where you think you should be. And when you try to hit the edge of this thing, this is where you start becoming less comfortable, because you're going into a new area. You're expanding your abilities, your skills, or your knowledge. You're expanding that, and you're moving into an area that you're unfamiliar with. And because of that, you feel nervous about it. So when you're thinking about, okay, it's easy to practice in the classroom, but when I get out in the real world, I get nervous about this. Again, this is that same idea of you're kind of in the sphere or the circle of something that's comfortable, which is the classroom or practicing by yourself. And then once you try to move beyond that, that's where the nervousness comes from, because it's uncomfortable and it's really unknown. It's something that's new for you. So the idea here is talking about how we kind of sabotage ourselves. And this is a great advanced word, to sabotage yourself. And this just means to hurt yourself in some way, or to create a problem such that you can become kind of back into, or you can move back into this more comfortable area here. So we think it seems like an obvious thing that everyone would want to be happy all the time, and that we would not do anything to stop ourselves from doing this. But if you take a moment to think about it, often, you may have even examples in your own life about times where you experienced something like really amazing, like you earned a whole bunch of money doing something, or you were having a really fantastic time with your relationship, but then like worry started to creep in. You started to believe like maybe like something was going to go wrong, because often in life people have this idea or this belief that kind of life goes up and down like this. So you have like some days you're really happy and other days you're not so happy. And it's kind of hard to believe that you could actually just be like great all the time. People just think, well, that's impossible. But if you think about it, why not? Why is it impossible? I mean, you probably know some people that are happy almost all of the time, and then some people that are, always, upset or angry or cranky. So cranky just means that you're in a bad mood and you're really just not happy enjoying your life. So it's just a really interesting book I'm reading right now. I have not finished it, but working through the book, it's kind of given me some own insight, or given me some insight into my own life about how, like, even in my relationships, if like things are going really well, you will hit a point where you're kind of reaching your maximum of this comfortable area. And when you hit this maximum point, that's when you start to create problems for yourself, but you try to say like, well, that it's that person's fault for doing this, or some other reason outside of myself is creating this. But more likely is something that you're creating for yourself, that you have kind of an excuse to move back into what's comfortable instead of continuing to challenge yourself and push yourself out. So you don't have to be stuck in this one location, and the point of your life is to grow and expand, just like a tree would, or anything else in nature that continues to grow and grow and grow. And if you are thinking in the same way, when you get to this point, like, you will kind of notice, as I'm noticing now while I'm reading it, you get to a point where, okay, I experienced something fantastic, like the business just did like much better than we had anticipated, and then like if something bad happens at that point, I have to stop and think, wait a minute, is this a sign that I'm actually like hitting my limit and then I need to break through that? Or is it just like, well, something like really bad happened to me for no reason? Now, more likely than not, it's because it's a problem that I created. And I like to think about that from my own life, that everything that happens to my life, everything that happens to me in my life is of my own creation. So it doesn't matter what other people do. I am the final person that gets to decide, if this is a good thing or a bad thing or whatever. So if that's true, and I believe it is, and really your life is just the beliefs that you have, if I believe that's true, then I can choose to look at something in a different way. Now, often when we have a problem or something negative that happens to us, we're looking at that and we think, okay, like it's somebody else's fault. But really, if we decide like, wait a minute, what if it's like the problem is not really that problem? Like it could be something else. Like if you have a problem in your relationship, like maybe my wife is like, hey, why didn't you take the trash out today? And she gets angry at me. And I stop and think like, are you really angry about the trash? Or are you angry about something else? And then we talk and it's like, like it's not that you forgot the trash, it's that you forgot my birthday last week, something like that. Actually, I'm quite good at remembering my wife's birthday, but you understand the point of the story. What we're really talking about is that, number one, you take responsibility for your actions, but also for the things that happen to you, even if it seems like other people are directing those things at you. So it's easy to complain about other people and to say other things are doing that, but what that's really doing is limiting the area in which you can expand. So if you, like, let's say you spent most of your life living with like parents that didn't have much money, as soon as you start making more money, you will be hitting this same limit of like, okay, I think it's comfortable for me to make this amount of money, but if I try to make more than that, then I will create kind of subconsciously a problem for myself, and I will make it so that I can go back to this particular level that I was at before. And this is why you often hear stories about people that maybe they have not much money at all, but then they win the lottery and their the expansion of their money is too great for them. And so they have to find a way to create problems, even though they may think it's other people causing those problems, but they find ways to create problems to shrink that money back. And so they end up losing that money, or worse, and going back even smaller than that. So when you have this idea, stop and think if there's a problem that happens, especially after like something really important or really amazing or great happens in your own life. If you're noticing something great happens and then you notice kind of a problem, or you're like feeling nervous or worried about that, that's really just an indication that like it's time to break out into the new area. And the way that you do this, according to the book, is when you're thinking about, I should be like happy and enjoying this new area that I'm in. So you kind of break through a little bit and you move in, like let's say you make more money than you thought you should be making and you start feeling nervous about that. It's that point where you should be thinking like, wow, like maybe I'm ready for this. Maybe it's like a good thing that I'm doing this, because that's what your body really wants to do, even if you personally feel kind of uncomfortable about that. But if you continue to press forward and to challenge yourself, you will move beyond this area that you're in and be able to move into other forms of that as well. Now, I noticed the same thing, and the reason I'm, again, bringing this up now is because the connection to fluency is quite powerful. People often have this idea of what they think they can do, typically because they learn in a certain way that made them maybe not so happy, or maybe it was just really like a frustrating experience that stopped them from actually speaking. Now, what usually happens is students go to school the traditional way and they learn languages where they're learning how to read and write to pass tests, but that's only really giving them an incomplete language education that's not helping them prepare to speak. So because of this, they have a kind of limited view of what they think they can do in conversations, and then it creates also their view of themselves as a learner of the language. And ultimately, if you fail and struggle too many times, then you just think, as I used to, that you're just not the kind of person that can learn languages. And so you create these beliefs about yourself in your mind, and then it's up to you now to break those, to reverse those beliefs, and to expand your circle. So all the ideas that you have about, well, native speakers might not want to speak with me because, I don't know, maybe I would bore them, or I don't want to make mistakes or say something that maybe would offend somebody or make someone angry even. So these ideas, the beliefs that you have, they again keep you inside this circle. But the idea, the kind of amazing idea about it is that you can move outside of that circle by, again, experiencing the kind of movement outside of it, and then being grateful for that, being happy and saying like, wow, maybe I am ready for this. And so as you learn more and you try to expand this circle in your life in general, but also with your fluency specifically, these are the things you should be thinking about. So how can I expand the circle I'm in? How can I learn more? How can I continue to improve and expand my circle outward so that I'm always moving bigger and bigger and bigger from what Gay Hendricks calls a zone of competence or a zone of excellence to a zone of genius. And this just means where you're thinking and doing things very creatively, and you're not worried about anything. You're doing really exactly what you were kind of put on this planet to do. Well, these are just some things to think about, quite some deep ideas, and I'm not even quite sure if I understand everything completely. I'm just reading the book now for the first time. I'm not even finished with it, but I was so excited about it, I thought I would share it with you anyway. You might be able to find it in your language, or if you want to challenge yourself, you can check it out in English as well. But again, just take this idea, that's really the basic premise of the book, where you've got this limited sphere of what you think you can do, but this is just created by what your beliefs are. And the more conscious you become of feelings as they arise, especially after you accomplish something, like you learn some more words and you think, oh, okay, I'm like expanding my situation, but how is that now like making me feel nervous? You should take that as a sign that something good has happened, not that something is, negative or something that you should be worrying about. So use that, and you decide to control the way you feel so that you can expand your circle outward. Well, that's the end of this video. I hope you have enjoyed it. If so, do click that like button and become a subscriber to the YouTube channel if you haven't already. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Until then, keep expanding that circle, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. To continue learning, click on the link in this video to download Speak English Naturally, our free guide to speaking and sounding like a native English speaker. The guide reveals the 3 most important kinds of conversational English you must learn if you want to sound native, and will help you experience instant improvement in your fluency and speaking confidence. To download your free guide on a mobile device, click on the link in the upper right of this video. To download your free guide from a computer, click on the link in the lower right of this video. I look forward to seeing you in the guide.